Hello everyone and welcome to Thursday. If I look tired, there's a reason for that. It's actually Friday at 7 a.m. I've been up all night because of a handful of things, but one of them, and one of the big ones, was the YouTube to Google Plus transition that's currently going on YouTube. It's not mandatory yet, and they haven't said that it's mandatory, but doggone it, I feel like it's going to be mandatory very soon because they're really pushing it down your throat. Before I get started, let me say that this vlog will be good and bad. The bad will be the Google thing. The good, which I'll put at the end of the vlog, that way once you watch all the bad, you'll be like, oh, okay, a nice breath of fresh air, is the fact that we got our travel arrangements all set for Christmas, which is exciting because it's been on our minds and we needed to take care of it, and we did. So I'm going to tell you all about that at the end of this vlog. For now, let me tell you a bit about how my evening went, and then explain a little bit about this merger transition thing if you don't know about it. So I got a late start on working on some of the LPs today. I was supposed to do a demo Fridays for tomorrow, and it's not very often I do this, but I needed to delay it for a day, and demo Fridays is going to come out on Saturday. I stayed up late to get Skyrim out, and I got Skyrim ready, got everything set. It was already a late night, and if you're not aware, if you don't have a YouTube channel, although if you can comment, you do have a YouTube channel, and this has probably been bugging the crap out of you, but Google owns YouTube. And Google also has this other thing called Google Plus, which is Google's social media site. It's a social sharing site. It's like Facebook, sort of. But people don't really know what it's for. Nobody uses it because everyone's already on Facebook. And in my opinion, Facebook's handled a little bit better. But I mean, the install base for Facebook is huge, and getting people to switch over is kind of difficult. Anyway, so Google has this service, Google Plus, and they also own YouTube. And they got this idea: since no one's using Google Plus, maybe we can just force everyone on YouTube to go over to Google Plus. Now keep in mind, it's not mandatory yet, but they're basically annoying the crap out of you until you do it, because every time you go to YouTube now and do anything on your account, you get a little box that pops up that's like, hey, this YouTube account isn't tied to a Google Plus account, and you should do that. And then they stare at you as hard as they can. And if you're wise, you look in the top for a little tiny little X, and you hit it, and then it goes away. And it's not a, I'm going away, I'll never talk to you about this again. Whenever your screen comes back up, it says, okay, we'll ask again later. So basically, they're not saying it's mandatory, but they're pressuring you. They're giving you as much pressure as they can to make you move over to Google Plus. Now, I've known about this for a long time, and I've clicked that little X I don't know how many times because I just don't have time to deal with it. And for whatever reason, tonight, late night, I decided it was already late. I was up late, and I didn't think it would take that long. So I was like, okay, I've got some free time. Let's sit down and take the few minutes to get these channels switched over to this Google Plus thing. Get them linked up. I could see the benefit of it. The benefit of it is basically, on Facebook, you have profiles and you have fan pages. Google Plus has the same thing, and what they wanted to do is link your account to a page, and then whenever you do something on YouTube, it's automatically reflected on the page, which would be cool if anyone used Google Plus, which nobody does. Although maybe after they do this and force everyone into it, maybe they will. So I decided I'm going to take the time to do that. And, I mean, in my mind, I thought it would take, 5-10 minutes tops. And it took me about 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer. Just because it was the most confusing thing I have ever seen in my life. I mean, it was ridiculous how little sense everything made. And I mean, I do this kind of crap for a living. Like, I'm on the internet all the time, and you would think that Google would make it straightforward and easy, but no. So I'm going to briefly run down exactly how I went through everything because it was a little preposterous. So first off, I had a Google account because I have a Gmail account from many, many, many years ago. So a year ago or more, I turned that into a Google Plus account by going to Google Plus with my Google account. It was pretty straightforward and easy. It was like, hey, you're on a Google account. This is your Google Plus account. You have it. You're good to go. Everything is a-okay. At some point in time, I linked that to my YouTube account that used the same email address, which was my Steven's Basement channel, which also makes sense because they're on the same email address. Now the problem is I have many YouTube accounts because I have the XFIS Steven's Basement thing, I have Steven Vlog, I have Steven Plays, I actually have Steven George channel, I have Daily Pack. So I have all these channels, primary ones being Steven Vlog and Steven Plays, but those don't have Google accounts associated with them. I mean, they do because YouTube is Google, but it's not quite the same thing. So I learned something wonderful. For every single YouTube account you have to have a separate Google Plus personal profile, which means that as of now, there are like 4 Steven Georges on Google Plus. They're all me. They're all my personal profiles because that's the only way you can set it up. All I wanted to do was make a page for these things, but you can't do that because you can't sign up for Google Plus as a page. You have to have a personal account for every single one. See, what makes a lot of sense on Facebook is that you can have one personal account and then you can make all the pages you want. I guess the difference is that it's not linked to another huge service like YouTube. And it was kind of a pain because there was no way for me to go on my original Google account and say, hey, I own these YouTube accounts, which would have been great if they would have just set it up like that. If I could have just went to my Google Plus account or my YouTube account that's linked to my Google Plus stuff and just said, hey, I own these, and then had that send like a confirmation message to those accounts where I could confirm it with like a code or something, it would have been great. But no, instead I had to create personal profiles for every single YouTube channel, and then I could go into that YouTube channel and I could click make a page, and then I would type in the name, which is actually the exact same thing as the channel names because I decided to keep them the same, and then it makes a page for that channel. Brilliant. Now, at this point, I will note that the only thing that's going to change to you guys is that Steven Vlog and Steven Plays now have capital letters in them, meaning that the S and the V in Steven Vlog and the S and the P in Steven Plays are capitalized. Should they have been a long time ago? Yeah, but when I made the channels, I've always had the, I guess, an old world file naming structure sense in my head, so I always have done like lowercase, and that's what I did when I made the YouTube channels. So now that's fixed, if you want to call it that. Anyway, so those were set up, and then I noticed something very peculiar. YouTube has had a really neat feature for a few years now called Switch Accounts, which if you have multiple YouTube accounts, you can add them all into YouTube, and then you can easily switch back and forth between them, which is great and I use all the time. But the way it was set up now was a lot different. You couldn't switch between all those accounts. You could only switch between your email addresses, or one email address, and the pages that were connected to them. In other words, you could only have one Google Plus profile and the pages that were connected to them. The problem was, I'm logged into YouTube on like Steven Plays. So I have my Steven Plays page because the Google Plus page is now connected to the YouTube account, but then there's also your Google Plus personal profile, which now means that Steven Vlog exists sort of as 2 channels. Which sounds weird and preposterous, but it's actually true, because the email address that's associated with Steven Vlog is now its own channel called Steven George, because it's one of 4 Steven George accounts I have because of Google Plus. And then Steven Vlog, the channel that you guys know and love, that all the work has been put into, is now not associated with that email address anymore. It's associated with a Google Plus page. So what does this mean? This means that when you take that channel that has these 2 branching paths and you do that 4 times, that you have 8 YouTube channels. Admittedly, half of those are not set up, so they don't exist. They're not a URL you can visit, but it's still incredibly confusing because whenever you go to, switch accounts, you can't switch to another account because the other account that's listed, the only other thing that's listed, is your email address that goes to your personal Google Plus profile that doesn't actually exist. Are you following me? Probably not, but I'm not going to stop. Okay, so enter managers, because after setting all these up, I realized that, the functionality of being able to switch accounts didn't work anymore. That was the biggest problem. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to do this managers thing. Then you have to sign in and out of every single account, and while you're in there, you have to say that that account is going to be a manager for this other account. So basically, I took my original Google Plus thing, my original Google Plus profile, and I said that I wanted that one to control all the other ones. The pages, not the profiles, just the pages. Once I had all of that set up, then, 2 hours later, could I go into YouTube, hit the switch accounts button, and they were all there. But, one last thing. I had an extra YouTube account. I have Stephen George, which does have videos on it. They're just all unlisted because I was using them for employment purposes years ago. So I have that channel, and I have a Stephen George fan page or Google Plus page that I made like a year ago, but it was linked to my original account. I wanted that linked as the page for this YouTube account. So I was like, cool, I just need to switch this over and we'll be good. You can do something called a transfer of ownership, which was fine. It takes 2 weeks. You have to have the page that you want it to be switched to, a manager of that page, for 2 weeks before it allows you to do it. Why do I tell you all this? Because I needed to rant. Will most of you understand what I said? Probably not. In fact, when I watch this in editing, I'm not sure if I will understand what I said. If anyone else had to deal with this, they'll probably follow me and understand where I'm coming from. That being said, if you only have one YouTube channel, this is probably not a bad thing. It's probably not. If you've got one YouTube channel, one Google account, everything's on that one account, this is a piece of pie, because you probably already have a Google Plus account, because you have a Google account, because you probably have a Gmail account, because you have a YouTube account. You have all that crap on one account. This is easy. Just whenever the pop-up thing comes, decide what you want your name to be, and you're set. But if you have multiple channels, oh my lord. It was a nightmare. And you might be saying, Steven, you probably did it wrong. You probably don't have to make multiple YouTube or multiple Google Plus profiles. That seems preposterous. I agree, except for the fact that I talked to someone from YouTube on the phone yesterday? Yesterday, I think. Yeah. Which also is ridiculous. I never told you guys this. YouTube reached out to me and it's like, we want to call you on the phone and talk to you about channel optimization and some stuff. And I was like, okay. So I actually talked to them about this. And that is what the guy said, that I had to make profiles for every single one. It's done though. I mean, that's the solace here, is that it is done. And I'm glad that I'm finished with setting everything up. Although the Stephen George thing isn't done, it won't be done for 2 weeks, but at least that's there. So I have some comfort in that. And that's my story. Now that I've rambled on for quite a long time and made this vlog incredibly long, let me tell you about the good stuff. We are going back to Wisconsin for Christmas. The reason being that we didn't get to Wisconsin for summer. We didn't go to Wisconsin last Christmas, so it's been like a year and a half since we were back home for Mal. So we knew we wanted to go up there, but we weren't going to have a car. We didn't want to drive up there because it takes way too long to get up there. It's a 3-day drive up and back, unless we're crazy. And I mean, at that point, you've spent almost a week just traveling. My car is not exactly fit for the weather up there, and it's not that Mal's uncomfortable driving my car. It's just I'm better at driving my car, but Mal's better at driving in the snow. So I can't drive my car in the snow, so she'd have to drive it. And then we just come back to the whole thing where my car's not equipped for the snow. So we knew that we were going to fly and rent a car. This has presented problems in the past, and we've avoided renting a car because if you're not 25 when you rent a car, you pay a piss load of money in insurance stuff. But luckily, even though I am a teeny tiny baby of 24, Mal is 25. So we got the rent-a-car in her name, which is fine because I'm not going to drive in the snow anyway. And we got everything set up. So we got hotels lined up. We're going to be staying with family, but on the way in and out, we have hotels set up. We got the rent-a-car, we got the flights. Everything is set up. And we are going to be out of town from December 22nd to December 30th. So 8 days. And what's cool about it is that we're actually going to be flying into Chicago and then driving up with the car. And we're going to be spending a little time in Chicago on the 22nd and also on the 29th. Now, does this mean there will be a meetup? No. And we may, but I would say don't plan on it. Don't plan on there being a meetup, but there could be. I don't know. We've done a meetup at Mitsuwa before, and we probably will be back at Mitsuwa, but I don't think it's going to be for very long. This trip is going to be a little weird in just the sense of the pacing because I don't know what's going on yet, but I'm happy that everything's taken care of because it's been a worry. Like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this. The plane tickets were reasonable in my opinion, especially compared to what we paid to go to Seattle. The rent-a-car, because I've never rented a car, was crazy. I've never rented a car before, so I was unaware that taxes and fees would be nearly as much as the car itself. Luckily, we went through AAA, and we actually saved a pretty fair amount of money. Anyway, so that's my happy story. We got everything situated, and we will be there in like a little over 2 months, which is crazy. But we will be back in time for New Year's, and last year we threw a really killer New Year's party, so we might do that again. I don't know. We had just about the maximum we could have here last year, although I don't know if we'd invite anyone new, so I guess that would work again, so we might do that. Anyway, it's late. I mean, it's 7:15 now. I apologize for ranting at your faces, but I think I needed to get that out because that was awful. That was awful. And you guys can also let me know how you feel about the whole thing, grouping up. The sad thing is, yes, it could have been easier, but it's actually a good idea. I mean, as far as having a social media site that's linked to your YouTube channel, that's so connected in so many ways. But the problem is no one uses Google+. I mean, YouTube has actually rolled out some really neat features. There's a top fans feature, which basically means that people that are engaged in the channels more, that are viewing a lot, that are commenting a lot, that's being tracked. And you appear in like the top tier of fans, and you can actually use your Google Plus page that's linked to your YouTube account to talk to specific fans. You can send out messages that only go to your like top 100 fans because you know that they're going to read it and they're going to be engaged and involved. It's neat. I mean, it's neat stuff. It's just the people aren't there when it comes right down to it. Anyway, I hope that this maybe helped some of you. If you are wondering about how to get everything set up, make a profile, make your page, link your page to your channel, and once you have all your channels done, make one of them the manager, and then you're set. and then log out of Google and log back in with the one you want to use, and then cross your fingers and pray. And that's really about what it comes down to. Sorry this was such a long vlog. Tomorrow's will probably be shorter. Tomorrow we which is today, recital, is that what I'm trying to say? It's too early for me to think of words. Rehearsal, that's the one I'm looking for. Wedding rehearsal, and then Saturday is the wedding. Coming quick. Jared's gonna be married. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we? I am going to bed. Go see Gravity.
That's the most you've said since the movie let out.
We need to lighten the mood. Ready? It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
What is that?
It's a joke book.